I was in Florida last year, Disney World, with my wife and kids, and when I left, it got, I think it was really warm or really cold. One of the two, I couldn't remember. It wasn't like an average kind of like kickoff to the year Christmas time. And I remember everything got really cold like mid to late December last year. Lakes and ponds were freezing and people were like getting gassed up for ice fishing. They were buying ice fishing stuff. And then when I came back, it got warm and it all melted and it never happened.
Yeah, we didn't start ice fishing last year until the end of January.
Yeah.
And it was only on the smallest lakes.
The smallest lakes. Like, I don't remember. You guys always go. Like, I don't remember you guys ice fishing last year.
We didn't go. We did go a handful of times, but we didn't go to Oneida.
Like high mountain lakes, small lakes.
Yeah, all high elevation.
High elevation lakes. But yeah, that's how.
It sucked.
Last year, December was cold, and then it got to warm up. It melted. This year, it never really got cold, like, at all. Which, I mean, I don't really mind for trout fishing, tributary fishing.
I mean, yeah.
Got a ton of water.
All of our trips just closed, and we were out there the last weekend and wearing no gloves,
Nothing.
sweatshirt.
I mean, you went.
Guide jacket.
When was the last day of deer season? The late season. Was that January, December 31st?
Yeah, January 1st.
January 1st is. There's no snow in it. Well, you had a little snow because you were way up in the mountains, but like,
right.
I don't remember. I usually look forward to like late gun season, whether it's true late gun season or muzzleloader season, which is the week after, for snow on the ground, because you don't always get snow on the ground, and it's fun.
For college, the first week in November was like the Salmon River trip where we take the whole club out, teach them how to steelhead, teach them how to fly fish, and every year it was 32 degrees and snowing the first week in November.
Yeah.
And you were worried about kids. He's like having leaky waders, getting seriously.
Yeah, like not enjoying themselves.
No. And this year, it's 2 months later. I have leaky waders, and my feet are completely fine.
I know.
I'm not even cold. It's like, what?
I would say, growing up here, what am I, 36 years old, Nate, you're older than I am. But like in all the years of like fall rolling into winter and true winter, like I don't remember it being this warm, dude. Like, I made snow at the ski mountain up the road 15 minutes, and like pretty much Thanksgiving, like we got done prepping the mountain, like fixing leaky pipes and doing air compressor tests and stuff. And like by like mid-December, we were making snow.
Yeah.
Like we were getting ready to make snow, and that was, what am I, 36, 20, it's like 15, 16 years ago. I know, listen, we could get destroyed with a snowstorm tomorrow, but we're talking mid-January at this point, and it's been just
I don't know.
nothing.
I can think back of times that, Thanksgiving week was just like there was a foot of snow. And then I remember other times that it was 65 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, normally by Christmas, there was always
That's what I mean.
Something.
I remember leaving here maybe 2 or 3 Thanksgivings in a row, like after Thanksgiving break, leaving work that following week in a snowstorm. And like that was, but the snow stayed. Like this year, last year, like it got cold, whatever, and then it warmed up. Like, listen, I'm not fucking complaining.
No.
I'm not complaining at all. But it is nice.
I wanted to get cold enough to where we could do our winter activities.
I want the ground to freeze, because when you have 2 dogs and they go outside, and you know this, Nate, it's a mud fest right now. I call it mud season.
Dude, I can't.
Right, Scotty? Scott, the engineer behind the camera over here. You got a dog. Yeah. You just, dog goes out, takes a leak, comes in.
We just got a new couch too, so I got to wipe
It's so did we.
We just got a golden retriever 2 months ago.
Preach, Nate. Go ahead.
Freaking hair on this dog is so.
Was it shed? Yeah, they shed big time.
Yes. So the other lab, I mean, it's fine, but it's like this one is a puppy. The hair is like 4 inches long. It rained all last week, and the whole yard was just.
It's a mud pit.
Beside myself. Every time that dog went to the door and wanted to go outside, I just
made him piss in a bucket inside, so he didn't go outside.
Cringed.
I have 2 wiener dogs, and they don't even, like, their paws aren't even heavy enough to make mud in the backyard, and they come in, and it's just, I wish the ground would freeze. I don't care if it snows or not.
Beside myself. I'm just like,
That's how you spent the whole week
It
off.
literally, like, other than the
Wiping
fact
off
that
the paws.
it rained and I couldn't go hunting. Well, I could, but I wasn't going to go in the rain. And the fact that this dog just like was just a muddy mess every time it went outside.
But you wanted that dog though. Let's like this is part of it, right? You didn't want the dog? Was that your wife's decision? Kid's decision? All right, we won't go there. Yeah. Well, fantasy football has officially concluded here at the Cortland Line Company. Our fantasy football league went from 10 participants last year to 12 this year. Made it a little bit more difficult. Had a lot less guys to choose from in terms of players you wanted to pick. Nate Dogg, who's my co-host today. Nate Dogg joined us for his first ever year of fantasy football, correct? Mm-hmm. Didn't do that bad. Took his boy Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills first round. That was actually a pretty solid pick, I mean, I've seen worse. I won't go there. Scotty did good this year. I didn't know you were a football fan, but he's not. But he's a good fantasy football player. Our boy Ricky over here, Richard Nicoletti, also co-host today on today's Cortland Line Hook the Podcast holiday recap episode. Ricky made the playoffs this year
after 1-7.
After we went 1-7, which is hilarious because last year you were like 8-0, and then dropped 8 in a row and didn't make the playoffs, and just a complete reversal. This year.
Yeah, I was happy to be a part of it, but at the end of the day, my team wasn't doing what they needed to do to win a championship either way. So
I mean, but you battled,
and
it was so
it's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to turn this podcast into a football podcast, but we just want to, current events of the Cortland Line Company. It's a big thing here in the office. Like you roll in Monday morning, after everyone here is in the league, and you bullshit for a couple hours. You make fun of the guy.
Hours,
you make fun of the guy that you beat, and so, like when Nate plays people that were totally benched or injured, and he puts up 64 points, and it's a fun thing to do. Shout out Matt Barovi, Cortland customer service rep and inside sales rep. Matt Barovi is the official winner of this year's Cortland Line Fantasy Football League.
Smoked him.
Matt had a great season. And that's kind of the recap of fantasy football, other than the fact that Ricky did sneak into the playoffs, like the last week of the playoffs, and bumped me out of like the last spot in the playoffs. And we didn't even play against each other; just came down to record and
points
and points and whatnot. But Ricky was going against, I think, I forget who he was going against. So Matt Fish, who works. He's a student at Cortland State, works here part time. Awesome kid, and he's actually dialed at fantasy football. He's really good at it. So Ricky, this is like pre-Christmas. Ricky's going up against Matt Fish, and Ricky threw like mega shade at me one day once the playoffs kicked off. And to give you some kind of context to the story and like a timeline. So Ricky's in the playoffs. I'm out of the playoffs. Like, no big deal. I'm in like 7th place out of 12 guys in the league. And bro, I'm a competitor. Like I played, college sports, whatever. I compete in everything I do. Like if I'm finishing 7th before the playoffs, like I'm going down in 7th place. Like I'm not going to just delete the app and just call it a year. So anyways, I pick up a defense.
Your third defense.
My third defense. And I'll tell you why I did that. And then I'll give you the floor and you can kind of battle me here. And so I will do that. So I pick up a defense that plays like a really bad offense, like that week, the first week of playoffs. I had another defense on my bench because that following week they were going against like the New England Patriots or the Jets, like a terrible offense. And I picked them up a couple weeks prior because I'm like, listen, no one's looking at this team, but if I make the playoffs, like I'm gonna have like back to back good defenses against terrible offenses. Well, I didn't make the playoffs. So anyways, first week of playoff rolls around. I'm out of the playoffs. It's Wednesday which is the
around 11:30.
It's Wednesday morning, which is like the first day that you can start to pick up guys on waivers, kind of shift things around, look at stuff going on, right? Nothing goes on Wednesday, and I'm out of the playoffs. I don't really care at this point, but I want to compete still. So Thursday rolls around, right? So it's been a full probably 24 to 36 hours of waivers being open at this point, meaning like anybody can pick up anybody that's not on a current team, right? You could pick some up. Scotty can pick something up. Ricky can pick someone up. And I think Ricky's on a sales trip somewhere, and I'm at the gas station up the road. So it's like Thursday morning. I get a coffee, whatever, and I'm like, I'm going to look at my fantasy app. I just want to see if maybe I switch some guys out on the bench, and I'm looking, and I'm like, who's my defense this week? I was like, you know what? Who's on waivers for defense? And I see Vegas, Las Vegas Raiders, and they're going against the Chargers. And I'm like, you know what? Chargers got their two best receivers out. They're hurt. They're playing like a second, third string quarterback. And I've always wanted to play and start certain players or certain defenses that like I had a gut feeling would do good, but I never had the balls to do it. Like I always would just like play the numbers, do it right. I'm like, you know what do I got to lose? I'm in 7th place. I'm not in the playoffs at this point. So I pick up the Vegas defense and I play them. Meanwhile, this is at like 9 in the morning on Thursday, right? Waivers have been open for 36 hours. Anyone could pick up anything. So that night, Vegas plays Chargers. And I got the Vegas D going. I like to pick up teams or guys that are playing like on the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night games. Gives me something to watch. Like it's fun to watch. Everyone has guys going on Sunday. And the Vegas Raiders defense absolutely goes off. I'm talking like sacks, fumbles, interceptions. I mean, they were just picks, just everything, just destroying the Chargers. And I was like, I made the right call here. And I'm flipping through like our league and I'm like, who else has got guys going? Like, I just like to see how guys are doing, whatever. And I see Ricky. He's got the Chargers defense. Well, Vegas puts up like 71 points on the Chargers, right? Like like I don't think Vegas has scored 71 points in 4 games combined all season. And I'm like, that's rough. And meanwhile, Ricky's in the playoffs. Like he needs these points to win. And the Chargers just get absolutely destroyed. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, looking at defenses in Ricky's position on Thursday when he finally opened up his app, whenever the hell that was, because 36 hours had gone by at this point, that picking the Chargers defense was actually a good call. Like, you look at the Vegas team, like Josh Jacobs was out there starting running back.
They put up 0 points the week before.
Yeah, they put 0 points up the week before. The Chargers played them in the past and put up a ton of points. They had like their third string defense going in. Like it was a good solid pick, and I was just like, that did not work out well. No. Vegas put up like an insane amount of points. So anyways, I ended up with like 25, 28 points for my defense, which is a really good number for fantasy football. For those of you that don't play fantasy football, like getting 25 points from your defense is solid. Ricky's team throws up -5. Okay. So to kick off the playoffs, Ricky's at -5. Okay. So the game finishes and whatever. I don't think anything of it. The next day I take a day off from work. My wife's off from work. And I wanted to take a day off, just spend the day with her. Like the kids are in school, like we had to go to the bank, run errands, do like adult shit. And like sometimes I like to take a day off and just spend it with her without the kids. So I'm like, let's go to the diner. So we go to this new diner in Manlius, New York, in Syracuse. It's called the Daily Diner. And I've seen pictures of the food there, and it looks like dank, phenomenal, like diner food, like greasy shit, like sundaes. They got Bloody Marys, the country fried steak, like not just dry home fries and like burnt eggs. Like they got good diner food. And it's like, I don't know, 11 o'clock. We got to pick up our youngest daughter at like 12 or whatever. And like the service takes forever. And I was just like, what is going on? And like it's like kind of on a time, like we got to go pick up our kid. So I'm like mega anxiety, like this food isn't going to come out. Like what the hell is going on? I wanted to try this place, like give it a shot, and it's taken forever. And the chick comes out and she's like, sorry guys, like the kitchen's really slammed right now. I'm like, there's 18 open tables here, honey. Like the kitchen is not slammed. Like
There's no one cooking anything.
yeah, she forgot to put in our order. And I saw the manager come out and say the table next to us, like, the kitchen's really slammed right now. I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't know what's going on. So meanwhile, like, so I'm fired up at this point. Like, I got to go pick my kid up, and I'm like pissed off. And I get a text from Ricky, like throwing mega shade at me for picking up a defense off of waivers when I'm not in the playoffs. So now I'm fuming, right? I'm on my day off. I'm having breakfast
You
with
just ordered another Bloody Mary.
Yeah, and I haven't even had one Bloody Mary yet. The service is terrible, and Ricky's talking shit from Texas on his sales trip over fantasy football.
Listen.
I will give you the floor here in a second. Let me finish up. So I was fuming. And even my wife's like, what's wrong now? I'm like, what's wrong? Ricky's pissing me off. She goes, why? I was like, he's talking shit right now about fantasy football. So I was like, a couple days go by, and I knew like our holiday podcast was coming up. We usually, like you, me, and Chris Rochford, Nate, we did one last year, and it was a lot of fun. So but I had some vacation time off. We didn't get to it, so we're doing it today, the first week in January. And I was like, you know what? I'm bringing this up on the podcast. So I went and just started screenshotting our group chat so everyone knows the shit Ricky was talking. I went through Ricky's fantasy football depth chart of who he played, who he didn't play. I went through the waiver list of who he could have picked up and who he did not pick up. The point is typical Ricky and typical Ricky's generation is if you suck at something, it's obviously somebody else's fault, right?
Okay.
So I'm almost done here, and you can go ahead.
Okay.
So he's like, I'm fuming at this point, right? Time goes on. So Ricky's like, who poaches the waiver wire when they aren't in the playoffs? That's a standard rule. And I'm like, what?
Standard rule?
I'm like, there's no rules, bro. I waited 36 hours to pick up someone off waivers. Like, what was I supposed to do? Just delete the app and finish last? Like,
yes.
No, absolutely not. If I'm in seventh,
lost.
If I'm in seventh, I'm finishing seventh, dog. I am not going down like that. So, anyways, in Brovey, who won the league, who's Ricky's buddy from high school, like I give Brovey shit like all day long, and most of the time he deserves it. So anytime Brovey can just fire back at me if he's got any type of ammo, so. I'm at the diner and Ricky's talking shit. Brovey starts chiming in. And he's like, yeah, bro, I can't believe you did that. Meanwhile, Brovey just got into football last year. He has no clue what goes on. I think he finished last year. He went from worst to first. So anyways, Ricky goes, I'd be kicked out of my other league if I did that.
True.
And then he's like kind of like passive, like, oh, all good, bro. We'll fix it next year. And I'm just like,
More rules.
I'm raged. So anyways, I will finish up here, Ricky, and then you can go ahead. So I wanted to go through Ricky's. I screenshotted this. Ricky's loss in the first round of the playoffs, right? So his defense, like I said, ends up with -5. That's how he kicked off the first round of the playoffs. He loses by exactly
like 10 points.
10 points.
Yep.
Okay. T. Higgins from Cincinnati.
First of all, that's
let me finish, dog. Pipe down over there. T. Higgins, who's on Ricky's bench, great receiver, Cincinnati Bengals, right? On Ricky's bench, throws up 22 points, right? He could have put T. Higgins in, and it would have just squashed his -5, and he would have won. Or he could have picked from one of 13 different defenses off of waivers, which he decided not to do, and he played the Chargers. I, for some reason, can't find the screenshot of those scores, but there was like guys throwing up 14, 12, 11, 9, like 8 points. Anyways, from going -5 to like +8 or +14, like Ricky easily would have won the first round of playoffs. Had he not made that decision to pick the Chargers, which I do agree was a good decision, just didn't work out, or played T. Higgins. But classic Ricky and classic Ricky's generation. Blame someone else because you made a bad decision. You have the floor, Ricky. Please go ahead.
All right. First of all, I'm in Texas.
Yep.
I get sick.
What'd you get sick with?
The flu. And I'm bedridden all Wednesday. I can't sleep. I feel like crap. Thursday's a travel day. I finally get to look at my fantasy Thursday morning. I'm like, oh yeah, playoffs. I made it. 7-7. It's a miracle. And I look at my best matchup.
So you're laying in bed like half dead, and that's when you realize.
And I see that Brooks picks up his third defense going into the playoffs, which he didn't make. And I'm like,
I should have dropped one.
I'm like, oh my God.
He's right.
This is insane.
You wanted Vegas's defense.
Either way, yeah, because I knew they were going against a rookie. Either way, yes, I did get to it late. But in my other
Ricky
league,
did text us Wednesday morning that said he had the flu. So he did pick up his phone the day before. He just didn't open up the app. Keep going.
Either way, in my other league, it's a rule. You're where you finish at the regular season is where you finish for the year. What happens in the playoffs if you don't make the playoffs isn't where you finish. So like, if you're like you know what I mean. Like if you're not in the playoffs, then like whatever you finished at for the year, your record, that's where you finish. So I finished 6th for the year. Brooks finished 7th. It doesn't matter if I won a playoff game or not, and I finished 2nd. That's not how it works. It's how you finish the season. Number 2, if you're not in the playoffs, typically,
or is there a rule? Typically,
for
rule?
our other league, you are not allowed to pick people up off the waivers and like drop like people if you're not in the playoffs to like mess with the other people that are still competing.
Makes sense.
So
which I had no intent of doing.
Either way, it's all good. I paid $15 for the special Delta Wi-Fi to watch that game while I flew back with the flu with a mask on and watched the team get lit up for 56 points and put up -5. And the worst part about that performance was the fact that the Chargers returned a TD off a kick return that would have gave me +1 points. But the last person they had to block was the punter, and the guy held him like a dumbass. So that got erased. So I ended up going -5. So either way, it was just double. It was like a triple whammy. Flu, blocking the punter, and you picking up a third defense. I was a little hot. So I'm sitting at my girl's place on Friday working from home, and I was like, I'm going to let Brooks have it. I didn't know you were out to lunch with your wife.
Yeah, like the one day off I take to spend with my wife.
I thought you were sitting.
It up.
I thought you were sitting here, and I was gonna light you up here. That's what I was preferring. I was hoping to get you hot.
Go ahead, Nate.
So I'm gonna, because you guys I wanted no part of it. I was a part of it because you guys, come on, whatever. That's fine.
No part in fantasy.
Right.
Or in the group text, which, by the way, Nate is in a group text with all of us here in the office, which is like Scott, Ricky, me, Matt, Chris, Nate, I think a couple other guys. And the bullshit that goes back and forth in our group text is just phenomenal. Nate wants nothing to do it. Nate's also like 10 years older than us, and I think he just doesn't want to get down on our level.
The group text.
Keep going with the fantasy.
It's fine. Whatever. So you guys have rode me hard all year on like, hey, you dumbass, you did this, you should have done this, why'd you do this, you would have won, like that like I don't care, so I look at my stuff periodically and it's just like, oh geez, whatever, I was learning, if we do it again next year, I'll know more.
Okay.
But you talk about like the playoffs, and maybe like I'm just so like out of the loop on it, like I had no idea that like the last couple weeks of the regular season was the playoffs
for fantasy.
Yeah. There was nothing in that app that said like, you're in the playoffs. You're not in the playoffs. You're this. Like, I didn't know. Like, I was making changes. I wasn't in the playoffs. I didn't know. I was still doing this, doing that. Like, It was just another week.
Oh, I knew.
No, Brooks knew. But either way.
Yeah, but you guys knew.
But either way,
I'm going down.
I didn't know.
It's a new league.
Dub said to me, he goes, no, the last like 3 weeks of this is the playoffs. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Our commish didn't send a playoff text that says, hey, these are the rules. This is what we do. Next year we will. All right. That's why I said it's all good. We'll
You
take
were
care of it next year.
complaining something like a month or two ago about something else, something ridiculous.
don't be
that-
pointing at
Somebody
me right
else's
now.
fault. It's somebody else's
No.
fault every
No.
time.
No.
It's always somebody else's fault.
We're going to make some rules next year, and there will be a rule that you have to follow. And that's it.
Why does it matter?
Because
I do agree, because if you're in the playoffs, like, you should have first access to the waiver list.
people get hurt every day. If 2 people out of my playoff team got out that game. So if I won the playoffs, I would have had to pick people
Well,
off
then
off
it should be
waivers.
set up so everybody that's not in the playoffs is done then.
That's also
typically what you do.
I had no idea. It was like, you guys are like playoffs. I'm like, oh, it's just another week. I'm going to put this guy in and put
So
this
anyways,
guy.
Let's get it rolling.
Whatever.
To get back to my point is Ricky made a bad decision. He actually made multiple bad decisions because he had guys on his bench that could have easily won him the playoff match. But since it's me and Ricky made a botched decision, he had to talk shit when I'm at breakfast with my wife enjoying the first day off I've had in a while, which isn't true.
That's America.
And I just, I was
That's
all
America.
fired up. I will say, to go back to the diner experience, shout out Daily Diner. They made it right. They comped the meal. When the meal came out, it was fire, and I knew it would be fire, awesome food. And I'm going back. And my wife's going back. The waitress apologized. Not her fault, even though it could have been. Not a big deal. The food was great. The place was great. It's finally living in Syracuse for a long time. There's a lot of places that there's good diners here there, but they're always slammed, and some of them don't make good food. And this one's kind of near my house, and I was banking on this experience to be really good, and the food was really good. It's just the service and Ricky just completely effing destroyed my experience. So I want to give those guys a credit where credit is due. They made it right. The food was great, and I'm going back. And if you're in the area, you should go back there too. So that's a wrap on the Cortland Line fantasy football update. I'm not going to talk about football anymore. Ricky, thank you for having the floor and waiting your turn on that. Keep your mouth shut next year when you're at your house, when I'm at the diner with my wife. I would appreciate that. Last football note, and I will move on to fishing because this is a fishing podcast. Shout out to the boys at Cortland State University. National championship winners. First time Division III national champions. Cortland State. Cortland Line is in the city of Cortland, for those of you that didn't know that. And Cortland State is 5 minutes down the road. So it's pretty badass. And to think about, that's probably one of the greatest sporting athletic accomplishments this city has ever had. Bar none. I don't know any great athletes from Cortland. I don't know of any other sporting events. When I was in college, Cortland State lacrosse won a couple back-to-back national championships. They won it in the 70s. My dad's boy, Pete Fallon, was on the team. Great teams, lacrosse-wise. But football is just, on a little bit different level, than lacrosse. Let's be honest here. So shout out to those boys. It's a lot of hard work and dedication that goes into actually winning a national championship.
Did you see how it ended?
Yeah, it was wild.
They had the team that won it, I think, 2 years in a row. I think they went for the extra. They went for 2 points.
They went for a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, they went for a 2-pointer and they didn't get it. For the win.
And they lost by what, 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was awesome. So
was pretty epic.
it's pretty sweet. And I have a lot of history with the college. My grandfather was the head coach at Cortland State for football. My father was his assistant. So I have a lot of family history in the city, but more or less that State University, especially with the football program. The coach for Cortland State, his wife and I actually went to high school together, so that's super cool. But I know from playing college sports how much effort and dedication and sacrifice goes into actually pulling it off and winning it. So I was thinking the other day, I was I don't think the city's ever had a better sporting athletic accomplishment. No one from Cortland's ever won a marathon, been in the Olympics. I mean, Ricky could be the most athletic person in Cortland right now, for all I know. So,
not after those tenders, dude.
no. Well, anyway, shout out to those guys. I just wanted to say that, I wanted to do this podcast a week or so ago, but vacation, Christmas, whatever, and it's great, man. I know the city's proud, and the city like definitely
Needed it.
I call it a city. I think Cortland's more of a giant town more than anything.
Yeah.
It's technically a city, so it's awesome, and appreciate those guys for putting all the hard work and dedication and doing that. It's pretty sweet. So, anyways, I want to get to some more fishing stuff, but this is Cortland Hooked, the podcast. My boy Nate Dogg's in the house. My boy Ricky is in the house. As you know, we just went on a good battle with fantasy football, and we won't talk about football anymore, other than the fact that I think like 4 podcasts ago, Ricky and Nate had both said that Ricky's Jets were going 14-3 this year, and Nate's Buffalo Bills were going 14-3 this year.
Yeah.
That is officially not going to happen. Although it was like, I really appreciate your guys like just love and just respect for your squad and stuff like that. But that is not going down. And I will say this. I had the opportunity to go to a Jets football game a few weeks ago. My boy Big Tony hooked it up. We sat in like these executive box seats. It was one of the most epic sporting event like situations I have ever been in my life. And I mean, the food, the drinks, like the game was phenomenal. The Jets played awesome. But when like Ricky first started working here, he would always talk about the Jets. I'm like, bro, the Jets suck. Would you shut up? Like, and like he was so diehard Jets. And then when I got off the limo bus in the parking lot before the game at MetLife Stadium and looked around at all these other Jets fans, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, these people, like, they bleed the Jets. Like, they love. It's the same way with the Bills when you go to a Bills game. Like, I don't have a professional sports team that I like live and die for like that. I wish I did, but I don't. Like, I'm not that into one sport or one team. And like, I get it now. So like all the years of Ricky, like talking about the Jets and them having like 2 wins a year, I'm like, shut up. Like I got off that bus and I was like, I get it now. And I texted Ricky, I'm like, dude, I get it. Like these guys, these Jets fans and any,
It ain't easy.
honestly, any NFL teams like fans, like, dude, they're hardcore. Like Bills fans are hardcore. Jets, they're all hardcore. But if you've never experienced that and you don't understand what like like it stands for fanatic. Like these guys are just insane. I mean, just decked out jerseys, their custom names on the back, like the tailgates, that like it was awesome, dude. And I would totally go. I was like, I'm slightly a Jets fan right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like I grew up like liking the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys. I don't give a shit if they win or lose. But like I'm kind of a Jets fan now. Honestly, going to that game.
I think the Jets represent the entire country. You know, you're in one of the busiest cities in America. You're
Grinding
your ass off.
Taxes.
You're paying a stupid amount of money to live there, and you still lose.
Yep, every day.
That's America.
That's oh, that's great. No,
that's
you don't even play in the state where your name
Listen,
is.
listen,
Like it's just like
listen.
everything
You
is
can't because New York City is so freaking packed. Where are you going to put a stadium?
He's not wrong.
You literally
Yeah,
cannot put a stadium
then they
in New York City.
Then it should be the New Jersey Jets.
All right. Well,
I don't mind that either.
No,
I
I
mean,
don't mind
it sounds good.
I don't think they care either.
No.
At most, anyways, it was an awesome game, and shout out Big Tony for bringing me there. It was a fun time. But like, I get
Bring
it.
me next time, Tony.
Yeah,
please.
I get it, Ricky. Like those, I've never.
We're gonna
like,
need another bus.
Yeah. One of the things I want to talk about today was kind of hits on the last podcast that we did, which was I think it was like fly line design, fly line development. And we spent, I don't know, like a half an hour, 45 minutes of talking about like why we make lines a certain way, how you would choose the right fly line if you're not sure what's what, like where and when you would want to choose it. So I thought it was a great podcast. We actually did get like a good amount of feedback, both like on social media, our info, Cortland Line, email. Like when we posted that, I think a week after we did it, We got some great responses, and like usually we'll get, some good responses like, hey, nice podcast, that was cool, like Shaner was on, or like Matt Perkio was on, but like we actually got good comments and like thorough replies from people. Like, you guys hit on some good points, and I'm glad. Like, that was not an easy podcast for us to do, and designing lines and making lines for every situation is not an easy thing to do. So shout out to all you listeners that did write us a reply and thanking us for doing it. It was a grind to kind of put it all together, and not, you can go down like these weird, rabbit holes with line design and end up in like outer space and just completely confuse people, which is not what we meant to do. So shout out for all those people that wrote us. So what I wanted to do is just kind of like hint on that in case you hadn't heard that podcast, and go listen. I think it was the last podcast we did. It's a good one if you're trying to pick a fly line, or not sure which one to pick, or maybe like trying to learn like what is what and why is why. So what I did is I thought I'd kind of like recap that in a way that you'd probably have to listen to the podcast first for this to make sense a little bit. But like, why do we make tapers, and why do we make grains, and in the ways that we do, and what are they used for and whatnot. So what I did was I tried to go back and kind of like understand what I was trying to conclude on in that podcast and just like recap it real quick. So what I did was I went out and got 2 lines. One is the Tropic Plus all-purpose line, and one is the brand new Tropic Plus all-purpose XP. And I compared those 2 lines, like both tropical lines, both used in tropical conditions, saltwater, or just, tropical freshwater. And like why we design one the way we do with the taper and the weight, and why we, design the other one, which is the way it is. And it kind of worked out the way I was hoping it would be. So hopefully this is like simplified. So the Tropic Plus all-purpose line, which we've had for quite a while, it's a great selling line. So the taper for that all-purpose line has a 41-foot overall head length, right? That's the taper of the line before the running line. The all-purpose XP has a 26-foot overall head length, okay? Why would you want to choose a line with a 41-foot head length versus a 26-foot head length? And I'll get to that. So what I did was the Tropic Plus all-purpose, I weighed the first 30 feet, which is like AFMA standard 30 feet, and I chose both of them as 8 weights. It's a 210 grain at 30 feet for the Tropic Plus all-purpose. Then I took the whole head length and I cut that and I weighed that, which is 41 feet. And it weighed 279 grains. So 280 grains, right? The whole head length. The all-purpose XP is only a 26-foot head length fly line. It's very short and compact versus the all-purpose. That line in an 8 weight, we designate at 280 grains. So when you look at these 2 lines, you're like, this one's really short, weighs like 280 grains. This one's really long at 41 feet, it weighs 210 grains, but the total head length is 280. So my point is when you guys, the listeners, are trying to choose a fly line, and if you're getting into fly fishing, or you're a beginner, or you might be, a decent caster, but you're not sure how to choose lines, and this isn't really for like the advanced anglers that know everything. What you need to do is look at the head length of the line and the grain weight of the line, and then apply that towards what you're going to be doing with it. So if you're a decent caster and you're going to be throwing 40, 50, 60 feet of line at, let's say, like bonefish or permit or tarpon, you're going to want to choose a line with a longer head length for you to carry flies at that distance. If you are fishing for like less spooky fish, like let's say like schooled up redfish in Louisiana, or jacks, or whatever the case may be, fish that aren't sitting in 3 feet of water or 2 feet of water like bonefish or permit, or whatever the case may be, and you need to deliver a fly like in windy conditions, maybe your fly is pretty big, having a fly line that's short and compact and you don't need to make a long cast would be the right decision. So the grain weight aspect of what I was just talking about is to basically explain this. Like when you're fishing the Tropic all-purpose line and you get the whole head out 41 feet, your rod is now loading 280 grains. Now, if you're fishing the Tropic All-Purpose XP and you only have 26 feet of line out, you're throwing 280 grains. It's the same. If you have the same rod, your rod is going to flex the same way, except one of the lines you have is at 41 feet out of the rod tip, and the other one's at 26 feet out of the rod tip. So all I'm saying is, like, when you go to choose and pick a fly line, think about the distance you're going to be casting. Think about the flies you're going to be throwing. Are they big? Are they small? Think about the fish that you're going to be presenting these lines to. Are they spooky? Are they stupid? Is it going to be windy? Is it not going to be windy? Am I a good caster? And basically it boils down to this. Like, if you're a good solid caster and you're going to be carrying some line at a distance, having a line that's a little longer in the head length and a true line size is probably the right ticket. If you're not a great caster and you're going to be throwing like shorter distances and you need a little bit more load, having a line that's a little bit overweighted and a little bit shorter is totally cool, right? You basically, you need to have a line that kind of fits your casting style. And it kind of rolls into this, that basically the fly line you choose, no matter what the price point is, it's not going to make you a better caster. You need to practice your casting, right? Don't go on a saltwater trip because it looks cool for bonefish, permit, and tarpon, and you suck at casting. You're gonna annoy yourself. You're gonna annoy the guy that you're with, and it's not gonna end well. Practice your casting is what I'm saying. But if you're in this kind of zone where, like, you're an okay caster, maybe you're not a great caster, like, pick the right line that fits you, right? And work yourself towards there. It's like, I was talking to Nate the other day. It's like, if you suck at driving, buying like a $65,000 BMW is not going to make you a better driver. You're still going to suck at driving, and your blinker's probably not going to work either in a BMW. So it just, practice your casting, choose the right line based on what you're going after, how long is the head length, what's the grain weights, and if you don't know, just reach out because we can easily help. Scotty behind the camera here, he's great at that. We're all good at that. We all do customer service. So I just kind of wanted to hit on those. I thought that was a good example of like the lines that we discussed in the last podcast and just kind of recap some of that. So that's kind of it. If you guys haven't checked that out, I highly suggest doing that. I thought it was a good podcast. You guys helped me out a lot on that. It wasn't easy to do. And like I said, if you got any questions on like choosing a right line for a right application, just reach out. We can help you if you're not, sure which one to choose. But again, practice your casting. That is going to, I think we just posted a blog or I don't know, some type of media with like a Q&A with Flip Palette. And I think one of the questions was like, what would you advise like people getting into the sport? And I think his answer was basically just like, practice your casting. Like, you need to become a better caster. And that's kind of what it boils down to, is like, no matter how much you pay for a line, if you want to pay the most expensive fly line there is on the market, it's not going to make you a better caster. A lot of really good casters can make any fly line out there. They could find one under their rug that's 30 years old. They're going to make it work because they're a good caster. So just get out there and practice. Like I said, reach out if you got any questions. We can help you out. So what is it? First week of January, probably air this podcast, maybe the second week of January, maybe this week. But we just wrapped up the holidays. Christmas, New Year's, whatever holiday that you celebrate. I enjoyed a few days off. I basically spent it with my kids the entire time because my wife worked and my kids were off school. But I got to ask the boys here, Ricky and Nate, as far as the holiday goes, Ricky, what do you think your number one gift was that you received for Christmas this year? Out of all the gifts that you cleaned up on, you got to go number one that you open up. You're like, oh shit, like this is maybe it's not what you wanted, but it's like it worked out. Yeah,
well, I had the biggest present under the tree this year. Shout out to my sister.
Awesome.
She got me a pretty epic 2-in-1 air fryer / toaster oven for the house. So
I've never heard of that.
It says it could cook 7 different ways, but broil was on there twice. So I don't know if it was
a 2-in-1, but it cooks 7 different ways.
Yeah. So it could do all sorts of things: convection, air fry, toast.
How big is it?
Broil.
Like the size of a microwave? Small, a little smaller?
No, I would say it's the size of a toaster oven with like 2 layers. So I don't know if I could do 2 things at the same time, but I'm pretty stoked.
We could
on
try it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
And to add some context to this, so Ricky is on the verge of becoming a new home owner. So getting things that would go into his new home around, like if you got a air fryer convection oven 10 years ago, you'd be like, what the hell is this piece of shit? But
No, I'm pretty excited on it. And
you're moving up into adulthood right now and getting those gifts.
I got a bunch of drill bits.
Yep.
Wrenches, a 16 set screwdriver piece. I mean, it's incredible. I'm set. I'm ready. I just need Nate to, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Need Nate to teach you how to use a screwdriver?
I need Nate to help me get that deal across the finish line.
All right, Nate. Number one gift you received this year for the holidays?
Well,
Go for it.
probably the best gift ever.
Whoa.
Ever.
We went from the biggest gift under the tree to the best gift ever.
Biggest, best,
Hang on, I got to take a drink for this. Go ahead.
huge shout out to my wife. Just absolutely.
She is a rock star.
Took it to another level.
Sorry, go ahead.
She bought me a car.
Like a 89 Civic, or what are we
Did it-
talking
did it
about
have
here,
a bow
bud?
on it? Yeah,
A Dodge Charger. Always wanted one. Been looking for months. The Nissan has been good, but she's got 100. No, not 100. What am I talking about? 215,000 miles on it. It's been great, but it's just she's worn out. So I've been looking for a while.
You have kept good track of that car. Like you change your oil, your brakes, your like you do a
it's
great
just,
job.
The Nissan's been great, but it's time. And that's the thing. We've been looking. It's like I was kind of looking a little bit. A friend of mine's been looking. For stuff for months, and we knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know that she was going to beat me to the punch and surprise me.
Did you wake up and look
with a
outside? Was there a red bow on it in the
There
drive?
was a red bow.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah. It was. They took it and they picked it up, and
Did you immediately jump in and just take it for a spin?
no, it was they. All right, I'll make it short and sweet.
Yeah,
but,
you're good.
So
We got all day here, bud.
yeah, well, we go on forever, but so they she bought it weeks before Christmas. They picked it up, I think, the week before. Put it in my daughter and son-in-law's garage at their house with the bow on it. I had no clue. We were there Christmas Eve for dinner and presents, and my soon-to-be son-in-law got me off the couch. He's like, oh, Shannon, all these ridiculous huge presents that she wants all the time. It's in the garage. Can you help me? So I'm kind of irritated. Yeah, fine. And go outside and they open up the door. And then bam, there's this
Well.
and I'm just, and of course they had it all planned. They had webcams set up everywhere. They videoed the whole thing. I'll have to get some of it or whatever. But I kind of look stupid because I was totally caught off guard. I had no idea what the hell was going on. And I'm just what is
You thought your son-in-law bought a car for himself?
Yeah, I'm okay, it's a Charger, that's cool. And then I'm just what, that this is, you bought me a car? So yeah, it was awesome. My wife just I still every day I get into the thing, I'm just holy shit, she bought me a car.
Yeah, you deserve it.
So
Wait till you see that honey-do list in about a week from her after getting the car.
yeah. But no, so that I had the biggest, literally, and best present ever.
That's great.
So
You deserve it. You work hard.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't gonna ask myself this question, but you did remind me. Do you want to know the best gift that I got this year? You're never gonna believe what it is. So both my daughters, they're 3 and 6. They're about to be 4 and 7, and we've lived in my house for like 7 or 8 years now, getting there, and we're trying to move. Like, got to move on from our house. We've kind of outgrown it, but the housing market's such a shit show. You can't find it. So we're kind of like trying to like slow prep to get out of there. I got myself a dumpster, and I threw shit out for the whole week I was off from work, and it felt good, man. I was cleaning stuff out of the basement I hadn't seen in 8 years. I can't tell you how good it feels to chuck just stuff out. Like my garage, like when I would clean my garage, it used to take like 4 or 5 hours to move this over here. Like you can't just like put it in the trash. You know, these items are like too big. So my girls had kind of grown out of some of the stuff they were getting, a little older for, and like, had a dehumidifier, like didn't work. There were some bar lights in the base, like just junk, man. I filled that dumpster up and it felt so good. Like my house is so clean right now. And I never thought I'd say this, but the best present I ever got myself was a dumpster. And if you do not have kids, or you haven't had like a big, family gathering, Christmas, whatever, you have no idea how hard it is to move all the cardboard and shit out to the road for trash day after Christmas. Like, I do enjoy driving down like the neighborhoods when it's trash day after Christmas, because just to see the pile of stuff. And we didn't have to do that this year because it was all in the back of a dumpster. So if you are listening and you're not sure what to get yourself, take a look around your basement and your garage next year. You might want to get yourself a dumpster. I honestly, it came to my mind, and it was great. Any gifts you boys didn't get that you were hoping for, like puppy, anything? Well, Nate got a puppy, but that was like months ago. All right. Best memory of holiday break, Ricky. Family trip, did you go anywhere?
For this year?
Yeah. Number one memory that you had. Did your dad do anything crazy, carving up a ham or anything?
I was the one cutting up the prime rib this year.
Really? That's an honor.
Crushed it.
Did you?
Yeah. So that was cool. But no, I mean, my sister has 2 babies. One is 16, 15 months, and the other one's like 3 months. So it's a lot of baby time. A lot of baby time. A lot of,
You can watch my kids anytime you want, bro.
I've gotten pretty good. At it. Your kids are, a lot easier.
Well,
than
they
these
like
kids.
you, and they like Nate. Like every time, I think my kids like you and Nate more than they like every time Ricky or Nate's name come up, my kids are like, yeah, where are they? Where are they? Like,
well, her oldest started like saying like Richard, and like she thought it was like the funniest word ever. So for like the whole entire weekend, she's just yelling Richard, and just cracking herself up. So that was probably the highlight over the prime rib.
Are you a Nate? Are you a thoughtful gift giving man during the holidays, or are you just like a gift card and get it over with? Like, do you put time and effort into like getting like, yeah, she's gonna like this?
I don't do the gift card. I despise like shopping. It's like I'm not against getting presents or whatever, but I just hate getting it. But no, I'm pretty good about getting like ideas from my wife or whoever to get these things. Like there's not a whole lot that I can say like, oh, I'm just gonna go get this and kind of surprise.
So you're a thoughtful gift. What about you? You strike me as a thoughtful gift. Like, you try.
Yeah, I am. I'm very thoughtful.
You don't just go get a Starbucks $50 gift card and you're like,
no.
Did you do the coupon book this year, Scotty?
I did that a couple of years ago.
Scotty, like back in like Thanksgiving, Scotty's like, Scott the engineer is like, what do you think I should get my wife? I'm like, have you tried the coupon book? He's like, I did that last year. And if you haven't done a coupon book, for those of you listening, and you're a guy or a girl, and if you haven't done that yet, it's a great present because it's really thoughtful. You can come up with like coupons like, one free back rub or one free night dinner. And the best part is your significant other, they never use the coupons. So it's like a nice present and it's thought out really well. And like they flip through them and they're like, this is really good. They never use them. So if you still have the coupon book in your back pocket for next year's holiday season, I highly suggest using it as a backup plan. Nate, coupon book, you ever use one? That's what you're getting next year, Liz. All right. Lastly, for the new year, Ricky, I got to ask, what, maybe one thing, maybe two things, like what are you looking forward to the most in 2024? Could be work related, personal related, anything.
Oh, it's personal related.
Can you share it with us, personal related?
Going to Puerto Rico
Okay.
for a week with my 4 closest college buddies. Running it back. First time all of us got back together since college, since we graduated in 2019. Going down to Puerto Rico and spending the week with our guy Luis, who's also our Cortland distributor, kind of like, one of our main shops down there. And we're going to spend 7 days on the west side of the island fishing for permit, tarpon, bonefish. He's going to take us out to the reefs. We're going to jig. We're going to
anything that bites.
Yeah, and it's going to be a blast.
It's
so
a good one.
Coming up, month out. So.
Nate, what are you looking forward to most in 2024?
To be honest, I hadn't even thought about it yet.
I think you should look forward to seeing how fast that goddamn Dodge Charger goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting that house money.
I kind of got on it last night a little bit. Took Ryan bowling for a little bit. He had practice. They have a match today, so I was kind of feeling a little bit. Got on it, and I was like, ooh. We both kind of looked at each other. And I was like, whoa, that wasn't even all of it. But no, just want to be careful. I was. You're
looking forward to being careful.
Super irritated. So yesterday, first day back to work, driving down here, I get halfway down here on the highway. A stone flies up off the highway, puts a big chip in the windshield.
That's what you're looking forward to, is getting your windshield fixed.
Get my windshield fixed. Yeah.
All right.
So
I
hadn't really thought about this new year yet.
Ricky was throwing rocks off a bridge.
I'm just driving in like the white that.
It's that son of a bitch right there. Yeah. No. I don't know.
Helping me redo those floors.
Yeah.
I know you're pretty pumped up on that.
Yeah, the stuff getting him.
Oh, Nate's already booked up at my house for all of 2024 for house improvements.
I guess the big thing is the daughter is getting married.
That's a good one.
In September, so that's going to be a big deal.
You gonna behave yourself, or you gonna get after it? I mean, it's
no. I think I'm going to have to behave myself.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Like, that would be not good. If I did not, that would not be good.
Okay.
So.
All right. That's not bad. Here's what I'm looking forward to.
What do you got?
There's 2 things. I'm looking forward to playing a lot of golf this year because I do love golf. And I am looking forward to pulling into this parking lot each and every day for work without driving through a goddamn pothole. Shout out Dave and Rich from the maintenance department for fixing the potholes in the parking lot.
That's great.
I mean, we were using a different entrance for a little while.
I'm still using that entrance. When we fix the pothole?
The parking lot's like glass smooth, and Ricky's just like still going to the entrance. So shout out Dave and Rich for fixing those potholes. I know it sounds stupid, but when you come here every day for work and you got to avoid a couple potholes, they fixed it. So shout out to the boys in maintenance, Dave and Rich, for fixing that. So, that kind of concludes the wrap up for, I guess the whatever you want to call it for 2024. So here's the deal. I'm going to wrap up this podcast, actually kick off this podcast with the new 2024 products that we got going on here at the Cortland Line Company. So you may have seen a couple things here on social media or, in an email blast or maybe through some photos here or there. So we're just going to give you kind of a basic rundown of each and every item that we have. It's quite a bit. There's some additions to some existing lineups that we've added. I'll get to those first. Some brand new ones, some new packaging. I might bump this microphone a time or two trying to reach down and grab all this stuff. So if I do, we'll have Ricky or Nate take over here for a little bit. So here's the deal, folks. All right. The new product rundown, I'm going to get to the additions of the existing lineups right now. So these are items that we've come out with this year and added to an assortment that already exists. I think that's all I got for up here right now. So, all right, here's the deal. The saltwater nylon tapered leaders, 7.5 and 9 foot lengths. We've added a 30-pound size to that tapered leader, which we previously ended in a 20-pound. The 30-pound and the 7.5 and 9 foot. Here's why I love that. If you want to add and make it simple, if you want to add bite guard or just like bigger floor or bigger mono to your setup, the 30-pound is super nice because you can grab the 7.5 foot length and 30-pound and easily add 40 and 50-pound to it with whether it's a back-to-back uni or a blood knot. So if you're targeting fish or even stainless steel leader material, and the same goes for the 9 foot. Basically, like if you want to keep your leader, keep it simple. Like if you're not good at building your own tapered leaders, like from butt section to tip, but you got to go above 30-pound for bite guard in the 40, 50-pound range or steel leader material range, these and still keep your leader kind of short. These are going to be a nice addition to your arsenal. So, like I said, the 7.5 and 9 foot saltwater tapered leader lengths. We added a 30-pound size to that. You can just run it straight if 30 pounds the right size for you, but it's really easy to add 40, 50-pound bite guard to those with a back-to-back uni blood knot, your preferred knot, and keep a leader setup super simple. Like traditionally, if you wanted to fish, let's say 40 or 50-pound, bite guard or tippet, whatever you want to call it, leader material off your leader, you were basically going to have to build your own leaders because prior to that, we ended in 20 pounds. So these 30 pounds are a nice addition for you guys looking to beef it up a little bit depending on what you're kind of going after there. The gel spun fly line backing. So we've had that item out for, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. It's offered in white, blue, yellow, and the black spot. We've added 65-pound gel spun into the assortment this year. So for those guys that were kind of in between the 50 and in between the 80, that 65 is like a nice buffer zone. You might have had, 50-pound gel spun in the past where your reel was really big and you had to put a ton of it on there just to kind of fill up capacity. So having the 65-pound is nice. You still get that strength, actually added strength, and you can fill up your reel a little bit quicker. Maybe the 80 was too much of a jump and you didn't get enough capacity. So the 65-pound is a new addition this year. Like I said, it's available in all 4 colors. It's a good medium between the 50 and the 80, depending on your capacity range for what you're doing. The other item for gel spun is the 1,500 yard put-up lengths. So we offer gel spun in 300 yarders. We used to offer it in 3,500 yards, which is really like an item for shops, right? Like very rarely are you going to find, unless you're a hardcore fishing guide and you're burning through a lot of gel spun or filling up reels, 3,500 was a lot. And it's even a lot for some, fly shops in the sense that if they don't do a lot of gel spun backing, maybe you're, a fly shop, that's more geared towards trout, but you do have some travel guys that you need gel spun, but you're just not going through 3,500 yards. The 1,500 yard length is added this year, like I said, in 30, 50, 65, and 80-pound test in all those 4 colors. If you're, a shop out there looking at this stuff, it's a nice addition. If you are picking up maybe a couple new big reels, maybe some, 11, 12 weight plus size reels that you got to fill up, maybe multiple reels with, the 1,500 yards is nice. You're never going to run out. So that's a nice new addition. So Other than that, we got some new additions to the fly line lineup. One of the things I'm excited for this year is the new add-ons for the Cold Salt series. I am the sales rep in the Northeast, New England, Mid-Atlantic. We got a ton of albies, bluefish, striped bass. So we've added a 7-weight to the striped bass float, the striped bass intermediate, and the striped bass blitz. Previously, we started at an 8-weight. There's a ton of guys out there and women targeting, schoolie size, striped bass, small bluefish, where, early season when they first begin to migrate, or maybe you got those fish that just stick around and they're super small, or maybe it's a summertime like back bays in New Jersey when they're just smaller fish in an 8-weight. It's like, it's fine, but it's a little overkill. The 7-weight's available, like I said, in the float, the intermediate, and the blitz. So if you guys are, often targeting, or maybe you want to switch it up early season, depending on where you're at, or in the middle of the season, depending on where you're at, the 7-weight is available in the Cold Salt series, in the float, the intermediate, and the Cold Salt striped bass blitz line. Another new addition this year in the Tropic Plus series is the tarpon taper. Previously, this was a 7-weight through a 12-weight. We've added a 6-weight into the mix. And for those of you that have never fished tarpon, you're probably like, how are you going to have a 6-weight in the tarpon? Well, if you chase, I call them baby poons. And a lot of those like inland like bays, and there's some like smaller rivers where there's a lot of small tarpon around that are, 20 inches, 24 inches. Mm-hmm. Like, they're super fun to chase on light rods. So if you guys are, looking to switch stuff up, maybe have like a 6-weight in your arsenal for like tropic type conditions for tarpon. And it doesn't have to be just tarpon, like
snook.
Yeah, this taper is dialed for, redfish, snook, a whole bunch of anything tropical that's like in that 6-weight range. Tarpon obviously in that range are a little bit more popular. So we've added a 6-weight to the Tropic Plus series tarpon taper, which I've been in that situation. My boys Hansen and Willie, I think Chris was with us, Chris Rochford that works here. We fished all day in the boat, got lunch or something, and we just drove around to some like canal type stuff, and just like, hey, they're small, but it's fun. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. And I think I only had an 8-weight, and it was way overkill. So we've added a 6-weight into that assortment. The other line we've added to this year in the Tropic Plus series is the High Viz Flip. We do incredibly well with this line. We designed this line with our boy Flip Pallet. Previously, this line went from a 6-weight to an 11-weight, mm-hmm. I believe. We've added a 5-weight into the mix. Guys love this line because it's high visibility. It has I think a 28-foot bright orange head on there. So if you guys, really like the high vis tropic lines and you haven't tried this, check this out. If you love this line and you want something a little bit smaller other than a 6-weight, we've added a 5-weight. Awesome line for really anything. Small redfish, small tarpon, small snook. If you're fishing maybe freshwater bass down in Florida where it's peacock bass, but smaller stuff, where the 5-weight's the right size. This is a tropic line. It's available in a 5-weight. It's a short, easy compact head. It's an easy casting line. So we added a 5-weight into the mix there. This line I'm super excited about just for my personal use. The Trout Series Indicator. I think we came out with this line 2 years ago, mm-hmm. 1 or 2 years ago. It used to be a 4, 5, and 6-weight offering, and now it's available in a 3-weight. I really like it for usually like for my personal use. Like I really do enjoy tightline nymphing, streamer fishing, dry fly fishing, but I really like indicator fishing too. And in the wintertime when these trout sit in a little bit slack water, maybe deeper pools, I do like throwing like a 10-foot, 10.5, 3-weight, something like that to like true indicator trout fish. And you can fish it all year round, obviously, but that's when I kind of like really wanted to fish this line. So the indicator line, like I said, that we used to offer in a 4-weight, 5-weight, and 6-weight, we offer it down to a 3-weight. So if you like a high vis tip, if you like a high floating tip, If you like a line that's really like designed for indicator style fishing and you're fishing like 2 weights and 3 weights, this is fine to throw on a 2 weight, like a 10 foot or 10 and a half 2 weight. You might find yourself in a situation where you want an indicator nymph, or you just want to go out and just indicator nymph. This is now available in a 3 weight. So I'm stoked on that one because it's January. Fish really, when I mean fish, trout really aren't sitting in super fast water like they are in May and June and July. They're kind of hugging back in some deeper stuff. I like to indicator fish for them. I'll also probably throw this like on our home water here at the West Branch of the Delaware system on a 3 weight, even in, in the summertime. So look for those. All those additions are available now. They're on our website. They're at your local dealer. And I'm going to jump into the brand new items. These are not additions. These are brand new for 2024. These are all available right now for purchase, whether it's, like I said, on cortlandline.com or at your local Cortland Line dealer. If I don't go over enough details of each one of these lines today, check them out on the website or just give us a buzz. Man, we can fill you in on all the odds and ends for this type stuff. So I just want to kind of kick off. Nate, can you grab those down there? I'll start with, because this is the only line in the series that we've added to. So the Cold Salt series, we introduced, I think 4 or 5 years ago. I think we had the Cold Salt Redfish and the striped bass lines. We've just added the new clear tip in the Cold Salt series. It's available in a 7 through 10 weight. It has a 10-foot clear intermediate tip on it. So if you guys are fishing, let's say like redfish in the wintertime where you need a colder line, but you got to get down a little bit, great line. If you're fishing, let's say blitzes where it's nice to have a floating line to pick it up and recast real easy, but you got to get down just a little bit underneath the surface, great line. If you're fishing flats for striped bass or bluefish and you want a nice presentation line, maybe the tide's ripping pretty good, maybe your depth's in that like 5-6 foot range where a floating line is just a little too high, the 10 foot the clear tip line, that's going to be a dynamite line for you. It's great. It's an all-purpose line. I mean, you can really fish it in blitzes, the flats, those redfish scenarios that I mentioned before. I really like it for a little bit deeper flats type fishing. I like it for those blitz situations where a floating line might not get it done, but an intermediate line is just a little bit too deep. Like I said, it's easy to pick up off the water. It's a 10-foot clear intermediate tip. In the Cold Salt series, it's called the clear tip. It's available in a 7 through 10 weight. Let's bump over to the specialty series. We've had this series out for, 6-7 years. Ricky and I put our heads together big time this year on these 2 lines, which I'm stoked about, and I know you're pumped about, especially being a sales rep where guys that are targeting bass on the fly rod is a huge thing. And it's a huge thing everywhere, but we really wanted to focus on it this year because it seems to be getting bigger. And, as a trout guy, myself personally, like other than tailwaters, pretty much past June when the water gets too low and too hot, like you're targeting bass, man, all summer, unless you're going to the salt. So we've added the new specialty series bass line this year. It's replacing the original bass line, correct? Did we ever have like the full floating? Oh yeah, we had the high vis orange bass line last year, which we've discontinued. This is a brand new specialty series bass line. It's available in a 5 weight up to a 9 weight. It's a short, aggressive head design. It's a full line size heavy. It's going to load your rod quick and easy and close. It's going to deliver, some little bit heavier flies or maybe some air resistant type poppers. It has a lily green head. So the original bass line, which we loved, we got, I don't want to say complaints, but guys were like, hey, I love this, but dude, it's high vis orange. Like these fish are spooky. And there are situations where there's bass like on some shallow water where it's a little spooky. You know what I mean? So we kind of flip that head around. The running line is an orange running line where that's not going to come into the equation, but it's going to give you really good visibility to be able to track your fly and your cast. Like I said, it's available in a 5 through a 9 weight, short aggressive head design. It's a full line size heavy, lily green head with the orange running line. That's the Specialty Series bass line. And to piggyback off that, because we've gotten into a lot of scenarios where like a bass line that floats is like, it's, the majority of what you're going to do. But there's a lot of situations where you need to get down a little bit more than having a floating line. So we've introduced this year the Specialty Series Bass Intermediate. It's available, same thing, in a 5 through a 9 weight. Same type of head design. It's short and compact. I wouldn't say it's super short and compact, but it's got a little bit of an extended rear taper, as does the floating line. So it's going to load quick. It's going to shoot really well, but you're going to be able to deliver just a little bit longer cast than the original bass line that we had. Now, what I love about this line is the head on it. Like I said, it's kind of short, compact. It's a clear camo intermediate head design. You want to get that out, Ricky? So we offer a clear camo intermediate line. So we've kind of piggybacked off of that design. It's super stealthy. I know that a lot of you guys are listening, you can't see right now, but jump on our YouTube channel, and maybe check these out online. So it's a short, compact, clear camo intermediate head design, and it's paired with what we call an aqua green running line. So it's roughly, what is that head length? 36 foot head length. So you got 36 foot of head length. I think the intermediate section is right around the 30-foot mark or so.
Yeah, it's around 26.
Around 26.
Yeah.
So an awesome line for if you guys are fly fishing for bass. Maybe there's certain situations where it might be midsummer where the fish just aren't up in the shallows. You got to get down deep a little bit. I actually like it for when I'm fishing certain patterns where like I need that intermediate to get the fly down, but I want to strip it kind of fast. You know what I mean? It kind of keeps it in that like middle to upper water column. So check that out. It's called the Specialty Series Bass Intermediate. I know you're pumped on that. I am too. For those hardcore guys that or maybe you're just getting into bass fishing on a fly, check these out. It's the full floating bass and the Bass Intermediate. Nate Dogg, you want to be my prop right now and hold on to a couple of these for me? Thank you, sir. The Tropic Plus series, I know we hinted on a couple additions to that earlier, and I talked about the all-purpose Tropic Plus all-purpose XP in the podcast prior to this, and I just want to give it a quick rundown so you guys, if you're interested, kind of know the ins and outs of that. So the all-purpose XP is a short, compact, overweighted tropical line. It weighs, I think, 2 line sizes heavy compared to an AFMA standard line. If you are throwing larger flies, if you are fishing in windy conditions, if you are fishing just short range, maybe you're fishing a situation where you don't have a lot of back cast room behind you, but you need to deliver and shoot the fly, at 35, 40, 45 feet. This is going to be the line that you want to pick. It's called the Tropic Plus All-Purpose XP. It's available in a 7 weight through 10 weight. And like I mentioned, it's short, it's aggressive. This is not a line that you're going to want to throw to bonefish in a foot of water. It's not a line that's going to crash on you, but it's not built for soft presentations with light flies and spooky fish. Like, this is a line you're going to want to punch a big fly through the wind, deliver on fish that aren't really spooky. The Tropic Plus Series All-Purpose XP, like I said, it's 2 line sizes heavy. So the 7 weight weighs 240 grains, the 8 weights 280, the 9 weights 330, the 10 weights 380. So check that out. It's a brand new line in the Tropic Plus series this year. We originally we kind of worked off a line that we used to have called the Tropic Plus series, the Tropic Compact. This is a little bit more dialed in. We did very well with that line, but there were some tweaks and changes that we needed to make to that line. so that it was just dialed. Basically, there was some odds and ends that like could have made that line better, and we did it with this line. So if you guys had originally fished the Tropic Plus Tropic Compact, you're going to really like this line. It's basically the same thing, but a bunch of added bells and whistles on it to make it even better. Lastly, before I get to a couple other lines here, the streamer series that we've had out for, I think, 3 years now. We started with a floating line, then we added a 10-foot Type 6 sink tip, then we added some longer streamer dredge lines last year. We added a 10-foot Type 3 sink rate last year. The streamer series streamer intermediate tip we've introduced this year. It's available in a 5-weight through an 8-weight. Short, aggressive up front with kind of a dialed in rear taper. So if you guys are like on foot streamer fishing, it's going to load in quick. Maybe you're fishing on a boat where you can carry a little bit extra line compared to the guys on the bank. That added rear taper is nice to be able to carry line, deliver, streamer flies. Now it's going to fish a small woolly bugger, of course, but if you guys are throwing some larger stuff in the mix, you want to open that up quick. It's has an olive green running line paired with an olive green head on it, and it has a kind of a muted, like medium gray intermediate tip on it. So if you're looking for that stealth aspect of streamer fishing, and you have a Type 3 sink tip or a Type 6 and it's just too much, I really like it for fishing kind of the slack water on the banks in high water, or for fishing kind of shallower riffles, maybe the heads and runs. Like, everyone's river set up a little bit different in terms of streamer fishing. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. You might have big giant tailwaters that are super deep. Maybe not a line for you, but there are a ton of like small to medium sized trout streams where streamer fishing is the right method of choice, but a floating line isn't getting you down enough, and a Type 3 sink tip is just a little too much. So check that out. It's the streamer series streamer intermediate tip. It's a 10-foot intermediate tip. It's available in a 5 through an 8-weight. Lastly, as far as new lines, which I'm stoked on this year, is the 50 Plus series. This is a brand new series. We had the GT line and the billfish line for a few years that came with the 50-pound core. So what is the 50 Plus series? It's a series that incorporates 5 different lines. Some of them are species specific, like the billfish, like the GT, and we've added kind of 3 new lines to that mix: a full float, an intermediate head with floating running line, and the heavy sink, which is 30 foot of Type 6, I believe, with intermediate running line. So every line in the 50 Plus series comes with our 50-pound braided nylon core. So I like the 50-pound braided nylon core. Well, one, it's 50 pounds, right? So you can go after, if you're targeting marlin or tuna or maybe giant tarpon or any sharks, anything where you need to beef up in terms of your fly line. I mean, for years it was like, hey, you're throwing a big rod, you got a big reel, you have giant gel spun backing on there, you're throwing big heavy fluorocarbon or monofilament leaders. Now you got a series of fly lines that you can pair that with depending on whatever you're going after that requires a fly line that has a strong, heavy core. So the first line in that series, it's called the 50 Plus series Cannon. And it's a freaking cannon, let me tell you that. It's a short, aggressive taper. It's made to deliver big flies, short backcast areas. It's a great line for like jungle fishing, Dorado fishing. Maybe you're just, targeting fish in kind of short range situations. It's available in a 10 weight through a 12 plus. The 10 weight is a 350 grain line, 11 weights 400, 12 weights 450, and then 12 plus is 500. These are all tropical rated lines, but what I like about the 50 Plus series is these have a braided nylon core, and it's not like a 50-pound monocore, which in cooler conditions will retain some memory and kind of cause some tangling issues. The nylon, braided nylon core, we add a stiffening agent to the core, which gives it kind of that stiffer mono feel, but it doesn't act like mono in cooler temps. So if you guys are targeting fish where you need the 50-pound core, but there is a possibility where you get a cold front, or maybe it's, 55, 60 degrees, 65 degrees, where it's not truly tropical, and you're kind of concerned about that, this is a line that's kind of like the best of both worlds. This whole series is like, it acts like a tropical line, but it does not retain that memory as a monofilament line would. So another line in that series, the billfish line. This line, if you've been fishing the billfish line before, it's the same exact line. We kind of piggybacked off this in the GT line and added it to this series. So there's no changes there. We just put it in the new 50 plus series. It's a 600 grain sinking line. It's available in, we call it's one size, we call it 13 to 15 weight. Once you get up into those size ranges for certain billfish applications, there's kind of scenarios where you're not really like carrying a lot of line. Depends on how you're bill fishing. I know the guys that we work with at Los Locos, they do, there's casting for striped marlin versus like your typical, some of the billfish stuff that you might see where you kind of trolling and teasing them up. You pull the teasers and you make one good cast out there. So that's kind of like a all around 600 grain. It gets down, it kind of fits every rod. It's a short kind of punch it through the air type line. Same billfish line that if you guys have been fishing that in the past, it's just in the 50 plus series now. The 50 plus series intermediate, like I said before, this is it's a 41 foot intermediate head with a floating running line. It's a 100-foot line. It's available in a 10 weight through a 13-15 range, which is up to the 600 grain. So if you guys are targeting fish where those floating lines that you like in the 50 plus series need a 50-pound core, but you need to get down a little bit, sharks, tuna, whatever the species is where you need that 50-pound core, check this out. It's a 41-foot overall head length intermediate line with floating running line. Like I said, it's available in the 10 through the 13-15 range. The 10 weight's 350, goes in 50 grain increments all the way up to 600 grains. And that kind of leads me into the other line in the 50 plus series, which is the heavy sink. This is a 30-foot type 6. Is it type 6? Nope. Type 7 sink rate. If you guys are dredging in certain situations, or maybe there's super heavy currents where you need to get down, maybe you're throwing big flies, but they're weightless and you need to sink them, check out the 50 plus series. It's called the heavy sink. This line actually goes up to 700 grains, which is the heaviest line that we make here at Cortland. So there's situations where you need to get up in that 700 grain range with a sinking line. This is going to be the line for you. Like I said, it's 30 feet of type 7 sink rate, and it's paired with intermediate running line. And lastly, in the 50 plus series is the GT line, the giant trevally line. This is the same line, except we've added dual welded loops to it this year. So if you guys have been going to Christmas Island, Alphonse, or whatever, and you've been fishing the GT line that we've had, it's in the 50 plus series now. It's called the giant trevally. It's available in a 10 weight now up through 13 weight. What I kind of like about this line, it's a longer taper design. It's a true line size. For those of you that are going on a trip for GTs and you're spending a lot of money to go to Christmas Island or the Alphonse, you better be a good caster. And this is a true line size for the reason of this. You're going to need to be able to carry line and change lines in different directions. You don't want a short, aggressive, clubby head line. You want to be able to hold line in the air and deliver the fly. Those fish are fast. They move left. They move right. They come in on you. They go out on you. So, like I said, a 10 weight through a 13 weight, it's a true line size. It's a longer head design. This is not a short, aggressive line. If that's what you need to fish, or if that's what you prefer, then the 50 plus series Cannon is what you want. 50 plus series giant trevally. For those of you that have always fished our GT line, this is going to be the line that you want to purchase. So that's it for the new items, but real quick, some change in artwork boxes. So we've always had the 333 series, the 444 series, and if you are listening, you're not going to be able to see this, so you're going to want to check these out on the web or tune into this podcast on YouTube so you can check these out. So if you have typically purchased our 333 lines, our 444 lines, like the Peach, the SL, the Silk, the Modern Trout, you're going to want to check these out because you're going to want to know the change in the artwork packaging. So the 333 series, this is a new line this year. It's called the Bass Panfish. This is the change in packaging. We had kind of an old school look before. We've gone to a more modern look that's kind of replicated our branding that we have across our series. It's a $49.95 retail line. If you guys are getting into fishing and you just want to start bass, panfish, maybe that's all you have because you don't have a trout, stream near you, check this line out. It's available in a 3-weight up to a 7-weight. So if you guys just want to go out to the pond and target panfish, this is an awesome line. Like I said, the artwork's changing. Check these out. If you guys, have purchased 333 series products in the past, you're going to want to get familiar with this packaging so you know what to look for in your shops and online. The 444 series, same thing. We've updated the artwork on these. I think these are killer looking. It's more modern. All of the lines in the 444 series will go to this, like the Spring Creek that I have right now, the Modern Trouts, your Big Shots, your stuff like that, your full sinking lines, your sink tips, your clear camos. Check these out. These are brand new for this year. Get familiar with this packaging. If you typically purchase those types of lines, this is what you're going to be looking for. It's the same line. It's in brand new packaging. And lastly, put a ton of work into this. The 444 Classic series. These lines, such as the 444 Classic Peach, the SL, and the Silk, those 3 lines have been with us since day one. They do extremely well for us, and we wanted to kind of separate those from the more modern lines and give them their own kind of look and feel. You gotta check these out. They come with it's called a foil wrap, but it's like, what do they call that? Like kind of hologram. It's shiny and it's gonna pop on the shelf. All right, I'm just gonna tell you that much. So the 444 Classic, the Peach, the SL, and the Silk will all come in this style packaging. This shiny foil right here will all resemble the line color. So like the SL will have the mint green, the Silk will have the mustard yellow. Like I said, we wanted to kind of separate these lines because they are classic lines. They've been with us forever. They're not more of the modern lines that we've had, like the Modern Trout, the Big Shot that we just came back out with. So check these lines out. Those 3 lines will be in this style of packaging. So that's it as far as new stuff this goes. It's a ton of new stuff. I just wanted to kind of give you, the listeners, a rundown of what we have that's available right now, like I said, at your local fly shop and CortlandLine.com. Some add-ons, to the existing lineups, such as the saltwater 30-pound and the 7.5 and 9 footers, the gel spun in the 65-pound, and the new 1,500-yard lengths. The Colt Salt Series striped bass float, intermediate, and blitz now comes in a 7-weight. So for you guys chasing schoolies and smaller blues, the Tropic Plus High Vis Flip now in a 5-weight, Tropic Plus Tarpon Taper now in a 6-weight, and the Trout Series Indicator is now available in a 3-weight. Full rundown of the brand new items, such as the Specialty Series Full Floating Bass, the Specialty Series Bass Intermediate, the Streamer Series. We've added a Streamer Intermediate line this year, a 10-foot intermediate, the Tropic Plus Series, the new All-Purpose XP. Like I said before, if you guys fish the Tropic Compact and you really like that, this is the line that you're going to want to pick up for that. The 333 series, the new bass panfish line. If you guys are just fishing bass and panfish and want a really high quality line at a $49.95 retail price, that's what you're going to want to jump on. And you got to check out the 50 plus series. If you guys are traveling or you're targeting giant fish that need a 50-pound core, this is going to be the series for you. Species specific stuff like GTs, billfish, full float, intermediate tip, sinking lines. And then lastly, which I thought was pretty sweet this year, we've typically highlight a lot of like Euro type products. We have the Euro nymph rods. We have the Euro Nymph leader material, the indicator mono, the Euro Nymph fly lines. We've added the Euro Nymph nylon tapered leader this year. So what that is a 20-foot knotless tapered leader. Comes in 0x, 2x, and 4x sizes. And it's finished with our tricolor indicator mono at the end with a 2mm tippet ring. And it has a high-vis butt section as well. So what I like about this product is you hardcore Euro Nymph guys out there, like, this probably isn't going to be a product for you. You're building your own tapers, doing that. But if you are thinking about getting into Euro Nymphing and you're not sure, like, do I really want to buy all this, the Euro Nymph fly line and the Euro Nymph rod and all this extra stuff and all the leaders, I don't know how to build leaders. Check this out. Buy this. It comes with a welded loop, just a loop-to-loop connection right to whatever fly line you have. Like I said, it's a 20-foot length. It's a knotless tapered leader. It's going to basically get you in the game doing the right things and the right motions for Euro nymphing. It's available in 3 sizes, like I said, 0x, 2x, and 4x. Comes in a 1-pack, and it's finished with a 2mm tippet ring. Basically, loop-to-loop connection on your fly line. Add fluorocarbon, nylon, whatever you're into in your flies, and you're ready to rip. So that's it on the basic rundown of all the new stuff for 2024. That was a lot, boys.
Did a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That was a good rundown. Ricky, I appreciate you being a good sport on the fantasy football aspect of today. You did wait your turn. And I wanted to give you the floor. I was hoping for a little bit more, but you know, typical Ricky fashion. Nate, thank you for sharing your brand new Dodge Charger with us. That's great. Can't wait to go for a ride in that. Scott, the engineer, shout out to our boy Scotty behind the cameras over here. If you guys have any questions on anything you saw today, give us a shout, info@cortlandline.com. Shoot us an email, pick up the phone. Send us a DM on social media. We'll be happy to help. Answer any questions on the new stuff or just really whatever you got. Thanks for listening, everyone. That's it for this episode of Cortland Hooked, the podcast.